Hey guys, it's Adrian here, the Canadian in a t-shirt. And today, I'll be breaking down what is a drip and how to use a drip to get compounding exponential growth out of your investments. I'll provide examples illustrating how much extra money using a drip can earn you versus cashing out your dividends. I'll also walk you through how to set up a drip with Questrade, and stay tuned until the end where I'll show you how I calculate the amount I need to invest in a company to qualify for a drip. So what exactly is a drip? A drip is a dividend reinvestment plan. This means that whenever a stock or an ETF pays you a dividend, instead of receiving that dividend as cash, your dividend will be used to automatically buy yourself more shares. And so you are reinvesting in that company. The best part is you don't pay any commission when you buy those extra shares using a drip. So by using a drip, you are earning yourself free additional shares of that company. Your investment will be growing and compounding totally on autopilot. Let's showcase this with one of my favorite Canadian dividend stocks, RioCan. I talked about RioCan in my previous video, but one of the best things about RioCan is that it pays out its dividends every month. For every share you own, RioCan will pay you a dividend of 12 cents every month. This gives you an annual dividend yield of 5.25%. The current share price of RioCan is $27.45. And let's say I own 230 shares. That means my investment at this moment is worth $6,313. Every month, each of these 230 shares I own will pay me 12 cents in dividends. And so every month, I earn $27.60. I get that money in cash. I can do whatever I want with it. I can spend it, or I can reinvest it. I receive $27.60 in dividends. This is more than the current share price of RioCan, which is $27.45. So with this dividend, I can use a drip. And instead of receiving that $27.60 in cash, my drip will automatically buy an extra share of RioCan for free. And the remaining 15 cents will be paid out to me in cash. I've just earned a free share, so now I own 231 shares of RioCan. And next month, I'll be getting even more dividends, since this new share will also be paying me. This may not sound like a lot, but getting a free share a month means that every year I'm getting 12 shares totally for free. And every month, the dividend I receive is getting bigger and bigger. And this is the definition of compound growth, also known as exponential growth. In my previous video, I talked about the massive impact that compounding dividends can have on your wealth. But let's dive into an example and show you with numbers how much of a difference this makes. Let's consider an example where we start off on January 1st, 2020, and we invest $22,000 in RioCan. That gives us 800 shares. Each share pays out 12 cents a month. So in the first month, we get $96 in dividends. If we use a drip, that dividend is enough to buy us 3 additional shares of RioCan. Those 3 shares will cost us $82.35, and then we'll have $13.65 left in cash. Now, let's look at 1 month later. If we had cashed out that dividend, we would still only have 800 shares. And so, we would receive the exact same dividend of $96. But if we use the drip, in the second month, we have 803 shares. So our dividend would be higher than it was last month, and we would be getting $96.36 in dividends. Again, that's enough to buy us 3 additional shares for free using a drip, and now we'll get $14 remaining in cash. Continuing this way, you'll see that if you cashed out your dividend, you would receive the exact same $96 month after month. But with a drip, your dividend is getting larger and larger every month. In fact, after 3 years, our drip has increased our dividend to $110. Now, that's enough to buy 4 shares of RioCan, not just 3. And now, each month we gain 4 shares, so our dividend is growing even faster. In this example, let's assume that the share price of RioCan doesn't change, and neither does its dividends. So we're assuming that the stock price remains totally flat. Also, let's assume that we're holding our RioCan in a TFSA or an RRSP, so we're not paying any taxes on these dividends. Let's fast forward to 10 years. At this point, if we were cashing out our dividends, we would still be gaining that same $96 a month. We would have the same 800 shares we started with, but we would have a nice pile of cash of $11,616, giving us a total value of $33,500. That's not bad. We've gained almost $12,000 over 10 years. But if we had been using a drip to reinvest our dividends, after 10 years, we would have 1,265 shares of RioCan, giving us a monthly dividend of $152. We also would have about $1,800 in remaining cash, giving us a total value of $36,600. That's $3,000 more than we got by cashing out our dividends for the exact same starting investment. Looking at this graph, you can see that in the short term, 1 or 2 years, using a DRIP, the blue line, doesn't really give you a huge benefit. But as the years pass, the DRIP option starts to show its exponential nature and it starts to rise faster and faster. Whereas if you're cashing out your dividends, you're receiving the exact same dividend month after month, year after year. So your wealth is growing in a straight line, the orange line in this graph. A $3,000 difference is significant, but you still might not be impressed. Well, exponential growth really shows its power over the long term. Let's see what happens over the course of 30, 40, or 50 years. Again, the orange line is what happens if you cash out your dividends. You grow in a straight line. And after 50 years, you have almost $80,000. But if you had reinvested with a DRIP, your initial $22,000 investment would now be worth $268,000 in 50 years. This is the power of compound growth. And this is how billionaires like Warren Buffett grew their wealth. This graph looks unbelievable, but I promise you, the math adds up. In fact, your actual growth will probably be even higher than this $268,000. Because in this example, I'm assuming that the stock price and the dividends remains flat. In reality, the stock price of RioCan would increase year after year, and so would the dividend amount. So 50 years from now, those original 800 shares that we bought will be worth far more than the $27.45 we bought them for. With a DRIP, we're buying new shares for free every single month. Remember, we started with 800 shares, and those dividends were giving us 3 free shares every month. But now, 50 years later, we have 9,421 shares. Again, each of them are paying us 12 cents a month. So we're earning $1,130 a month in passive income. Compare this to the cash approach, where we are still earning the exact same $96 a month. After 50 years of using a DRIP, we're earning over 10 times the amount of monthly passive income. Using a DRIP, we're now able to buy ourselves 41 shares every month for free. That's insane. In this example, I'm stopping at 50 years, but if we held this investment even longer, it would continue to grow exponentially. I've included a link to this Excel file in the description box below if you'd like to play around with it. We don't have to use a DRIP to get this compounding exponential growth. We could have received the dividends as cash and manually reinvested the dividends into buying more shares. But we would have to pay commission on those new shares. If we use a DRIP, we buy those shares for free, no commission at all. Let's see what would happen if we chose to manually reinvest our dividends every month, paying a $10 commission fee every time. This is the purple graph you can see here. It still has exponential growth, far surpassing the cash approach. But that $10 monthly commission fee really does slow down our growth. And it's always going to be a few steps behind the DRIP method. In fact, after 50 years, manually reinvesting our dividend would give us a total value of $241,000. That's $27,000 less than using the DRIP approach. Over these 50 years, you would have paid over $6,000 in commission fees. But more importantly, your rate of growth month after month would always be significantly reduced. Remember, with the DRIP approach, we were able to jump from 3 shares a month to 4 shares a month after about 3 years. But without a DRIP, the commission fees really put the brakes on our growth. It takes over 5.5 years until we're able to buy 4 shares a month. I hope I've convinced you on how powerful compound dividend growth is using a DRIP. But how do we actually use it? Well, there are 2 ways. Some companies will offer a DRIP program where you can register with the company and they'll take care of the DRIP for you. And they might even toss you some benefits, like a 2% discount on the share price. The problem is that a lot of companies don't offer this, and the ones that do can terminate their DRIP program at any moment. For example, Enbridge, one of my favorite dividend stocks, terminated their DRIP program in November of 2018. I don't want to rely on these companies. Instead, I set up my DRIP through my online broker, Questrade. Setting up a DRIP with Questrade is completely free, and here's how you do it. First, you have to download Questrade's DRIP form. I've included a link to it below, or you can download it from your Questrade account by going to Account Management, Find Forms, and look for the Dividend Reinvestment DRIP authorization. Fill out your account number, name, and date, and then you have 2 options. You can check the box if you want to apply a DRIP on all stocks and ETFs you hold in this account. I personally go with this option. All of the holdings I have are companies that I want to hold on to for the long run. And so I'm very happy to reinvest my dividends in these companies. Also, a DRIP doesn't do anything unless your dividend is large enough to buy a full share. With some of my holdings that I heavily invest in, my DRIP allows me to buy 3 or 4 free shares every month or every quarter. But some stocks I only own around $1,000, and so my dividends are too small to use a DRIP. But if I put more money in these stocks, as soon as my dividend reaches that threshold, the DRIP will be applied and Questrade will automatically buy a free share for me with no commission fees. If you only want to apply a DRIP for a few select companies, don't check off this box. And for those companies, list the ticker symbol, company name, and exchange. Toronto Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, or NASDAQ. You can always modify or add to this list at any time by submitting a new form. Once that's done, sign it, scan it, or take a picture of it with your phone, and upload that PDF to Questrade by going to Account Management, Upload Documents, select the account you want, either your TFSA, your RRSP, or your marginal account. For document type, select Dividend Purchase Plan Authorization, select the file, and then hit Upload. It will take a few business days to process, but to check your progress, click on Upload History, and you'll see when your DRIP is activated. If you watched my video on my favorite Canadian dividend stocks or favorite Canadian dividend ETFs, you know that I included the minimum necessary investment to qualify for a DRIP. But how did I calculate that number? Well, let's go back to my RioCan example. The current share price is $27.45, and each share pays a monthly dividend of 12 cents, giving us an annual yield of 5.25%. A DRIP occurs when the dividend payment is larger than the price of a stock. So let N be our number of stocks that we need. Each stock pays 12 cents, so N times 0.12 has to equal 27.45. We get N equals 228.75. We can't have a fraction of a share, so we have to round up to 229. That means we have to own 229 shares of RioCan to get a monthly DRIP. But how much money is this? Each share costs $27.45, so 229 shares cost $6,286. Another way, if you want to calculate this dollar amount directly, here's what you do. You take the price per share, you square it, and then you divide by the dividend per share. So in our case, we get 27.45 squared divided by 0.12, and that gives us $6,280. So for every $6,280 we've invested, or for every 229 shares we have, we'll be earning ourselves a free monthly share. But we want to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, so just to be safe, I'm going to invest $6,500. That's because the share price is always fluctuating, but it generally goes up over time. If we own 229 shares and the share price remains the same, then we'll be safe. But we expect RioCan to do well and increase in value. So let's say next month, RioCan's share price is now $28. As before, our 229 shares pay the same 12-cent dividend, giving us a total dividend of $27.48. But this is not enough to buy a new share, since the share price is now $28. But we would still receive that $27.48 in cash. You should always buy a couple shares above or a couple $100 above this amount to make sure that your DRIP will go through. If you don't want to do these calculations yourself, I've drawn up an Excel sheet which I use to keep track of my dividends and to calculate the amount required for a DRIP. Again, I've included a link to this in the box below, but let's go through it now. You can see here that I have separated the Canadian and the US dollar stocks and ETFs. Every month, I'll bring up this Excel file and I'll update my number of shares, the book value, and the dividend amount if it changed. Looking at RioCan, rei.un, you see that I own 701 shares. Each share pays a dividend of 12 cents. The frequency is 12, since a monthly dividend gives me 12 dividends a year, and the payment column means that I get $84.12 every month in cash. The max val is my guess for what I think the maximum share price will be in the next year or so. This value is always higher than the current share price because I'm planning ahead, expecting the share price to rise, and I want to make sure that I will always qualify for that DRIP, even if the price rises. Right now, my current monthly dividend is 3.02 times the max share price. So every month, I can count on receiving 3 dividends for free every month. And so I color this box in green. The DRIP required is the same calculation I did earlier, but I'm now using this larger share price. So I need to own $6,440 in RioCan to qualify for a DRIP. I use this required amount to plan out my investments. Based on the calculation, you'll find that companies with a very small share price and with a large dividend will have a very small DRIP amount required. For example, let's look at the Plaza REIT plz.un. I only need to own $1,000 in PLZ to qualify for a DRIP, since it has a very high dividend and it only costs $5 a share. Compare this with something like Procter & Gamble, which is quite expensive at $126 a share, and it has a low dividend, meaning that I have to invest over $20,000 before I can ever get a single DRIP. You can see that I've highlighted plz.un in yellow. The reason for that is that my current DRIP amount is 2.69. I am really close to getting 3 free shares a month. But again, you can't buy a fraction of a share. So for now, I'm only getting 2 shares a month. I highlight this in yellow to remind myself that I should invest another $500 soon to push this DRIP value over 3. Ideally, I'd like to have all of these numbers in this column to be around 3.2 or 2.1, basically just a whole number with a little bit of change to ensure I get a DRIP even if the price rises. This is especially important once your TFSA or your RRSP is maxed out. Once that happens, you can't top up any of your investments until next year when you get more contribution room. For example, this Plaza REIT highlighted in yellow, I only need to put in another $500 and I'll push this 2.69 value to a solid 3. At that point, I can sit back and let my investment grow on autopilot, earning myself 3 free shares every month. But if my TFSA was maxed out, I would have to wait until next year to top up this extra $500. So for these next 12 months, I'm stuck here only earning myself 2 free shares a month. I'll be going over more TFSA and RRSP investing strategies in my upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know about DRIPs. DRIPs are the best way to get your dividend investments to work on autopilot, getting you that compounding exponential growth. And if you want to get started with Questrade, click my referral link in the box below to get $50 in commission-free trades when you sign up. Plus, I'll get a small referral bonus. And if you want to use my dividend drip Excel template, click the link below to download it. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Every thumbs up and comment really helps me build this channel, and hit that bell icon to be notified of my new videos every week. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, @CanadianTShirt, click the link in the box below, or click the links on my homepage. Be sure to tune into my next video, where I'll be breaking down what is a TFSA, and I'll go over what kind of investments you should hold in your TFSA to minimize your tax bill and maximize your investment growth. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Canadian in a T-Shirt. Bye guys.